afternoon. My name is Sheila Lamb, and I'm with the Virginia SBDC Network. For those of you that are not familiar with our organization, the Virginia Small Business Development Center is a partnership program between the U.S. Small Business Administration, George Mason University, and local host institutions throughout Virginia. With 26 locations across the Commonwealth, we provide training and technical assistance to small businesses in their local communities. Our one-on-one advising services are available at no charge. Today's webinar, Success Through E-Commerce, is presented by the Virginia SBDC Network. Please mark your calendars for the next webinar in our Digital Bootcamp series, Keeping Up with Digital Marketing, A's for Your Q's, ChatGPT. And that will happen on July 15th at noon. I will drop that registration link into the chat momentarily. We are recording today's presentation and it will be posted on our website, virginiasbdc.org. Due to the large number of participants, everyone's microphone is muted and the chat feature is turned off. But if you have questions during the presentation, you can type those into the Q&A box and we will adjust them at the end of the session, time permitting. We have also enabled the live transcript function, which you can show or hide via your own meeting controls. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our presenter for today's session, Cameron Nelson, CEO of Tenzing Startup Consultants. Cameron has over 20 years of experience in technology and is a senior tech consultant in Silicon Valley, helping Fortune 500 companies improve their digital marketing and e-commerce. At the same time, he also founded several tech companies, including a software as a service website for tree preservation and a blockchain platform for nonprofits. Cameron is accomplished in language, culture, has an MBA and MA. He believes new technology products have the ability to help shape our world for the better. Please join me in welcoming Cameron Nelson.
Thank you for the introduction. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the session on Success Through E-Commerce. I assume you're all here today because you either have an online business where you sell your products via e-commerce or you're thinking about creating one. Whichever category you fall into, this should be an informative hour and a half where we talk about the techniques and the strategies of how to set up your e-commerce store and platform so you can be effective at selling your goods and services online. And I hope that you all have a couple of questions for me at the end of the presentation, so feel free to put those into the Q&A box as we go, and we'll start answering those at the very end. So with that, let's jump right into it. We have 3 goals for the bootcamp today. Goal number 1 is to learn what website and e-commerce platform will work best for your business. Second, I'm going to show you how to set up your e-commerce platform. How do you establish your online store and how do you list your products effectively? And lastly, I'm going to show you how to refine your e-commerce store over time. There's always a lot of competition selling online, so I'm going to show you the techniques you need to use to look at your data and your analytics and refine your strategies so you can be sure you're maximizing your profit potential with your online business. So first, let's talk a little bit about what are the top reasons why you want to be selling online. There's some pretty compelling arguments for pivoting a brick and mortar store to an online store or maintaining both a physical store and also selling online. I work with small businesses in Virginia that have any combination of that. So top 5 reasons why e-commerce would be a good choice for you is that it has broad geographical reach. So the e-commerce industry is almost $7 trillion and it is projected to reach over $8 trillion in a couple of years. And in the US alone, e-commerce is over 20% of all retail sales. So, your target customers are likely looking for your products online. 20% of sales are happening online. It's a huge number, and it's shifting, of course, more and more in that direction. So broad reach is a key reason why you want to be on e-commerce. Number 2 is that mobile shopping is becoming more and more popular. I just read a report a couple of days ago. Over 60% of websites are now visited on mobile devices. Every year, this goes up by a couple of percent. And in 2024, 80% of retail website visits came from smartphones. So 80% of people are shopping online with a smartphone. It's a huge, huge number. So you need to be online to be getting in front of your target audience. It's just there's no way to get around that and this year and going forward. Point number three is that it's very sustainable. 70% of consumers say they're willing to pay more that are sustainably produced. And so by putting your products for sale online, you're able to reduce certain carbon costs, and you can really focus on things like recyclable packaging, locally sourced materials, and advertise and market that with your online marketing strategy to really have a sustainable element to your business, which will help you tap into the 70% of consumers who are looking to purchase from businesses who have some element of sustainability. Number four is broad personalization. So 80% of online shoppers prefer to buy from companies that are going to personalize the shopping experience for them. So there's a lot of different ways personalization can happen online. Some things are you can recommend related products. So if somebody's been shopping on your website and maybe you're selling a range of hand lotions, maybe they've been looking at a certain scent, and maybe you have a scent that's a good mix or match with that one, and you show them that product next time they go to your website. It's a good way to personalize the shopping experience. And by doing so, you'll be able to tap into this 80%. Now, it's much easier to personalize an online experience than an in-store experience, mainly because it can happen automatically. You can automatically track the products your customers look at using what's called website cookies, and you can then build into your sales process on your website with your e-commerce platform to show them these related products. And that's just one way. There's many ways to personalize this online shopping experience, which aren't really available with the brick and mortar stores. And fifth is that there's easy conversions. So it just means when you have a potential buyer of your good or service and they end up buying it and actually paying you money and you're making revenue from them, they're now a conversion. So it's really easy to get these conversions online. It can be just take a couple of seconds. And you want to make the friction as low as possible so someone can just find their product they want to buy on your e-commerce store, quickly enter their credit card information, which is why now browsers typically save all the credit card information just to make it even faster, to make it easier to convert people into paying customers. So these are the top 5 reasons. Of course, different businesses will have other highlights of how they benefit from e-commerce selling, but for most people in a general sense, these 5 are definitely applicable. The next thing I want to discuss is your website. So the cornerstone of any e-commerce selling platform is having your business website. This is typically something like yourbusiness.com, and I've broken down business websites into 4 different categories. And I hope by talking through these with you that you'll have a sense of which category you need to be in to effectively sell your product. And whether or not you already have a business website or you're looking to build your first one, this will give you some good information on what you need to be considering to have a website that works for your business. The first level of website is a basic level website. It's the most simple kind. It's just basically an online business card or brochure. There's no e-commerce shopping capabilities at all. And this can be sufficient if you just have a service-based business. Maybe it's like a hair salon or a nail salon or something like that, where you only want people coming into your store, and that's how you make your revenue. A basic level website can suffice for that because you just need to give them details of your services, your open hours, and your contact information. But for anybody who actually wants to be selling their products online, a minimum level 2 website is what you need to start with. This will have links to sell your products online, but they're not going to be sold on your website. They're going to be sold on a third-party website like Shopify, Etsy, or Amazon. While it's quicker and cheaper to build this kind of website, you do kind of have that disjointed shopping experience where customers have to then go to another website to buy the product. And you end up paying fees for that. So if you want to host the e-commerce capabilities directly on your website, which is really the best if you're serious about scaling up an online e-commerce business, then a level 3 or robust level website is where you should be focused on. This will integrate the shopping capabilities directly onto the website, so they never have to leave your website to complete the credit card checkout and the confirmation page. So it's a nice premium feel. It's a more high-end feel, and you're able to charge a little bit more because you have a more perceived higher quality than if your products were just sold on Shopify, Etsy, or Amazon. You can also do things with a robust level website that get a little bit more fine-tuned as far as increasing your conversion rate by integrating things like your social media pages or even live feeds from your Instagram or Facebook right onto your website. Could be some nice tie-ins with other platforms you use to help you increase your visitors and also your conversions. And lastly is a level 4 or advanced level website. This is only really necessary if your business has specific needs to sell your products. So if you need to have a lot of video reviews or video testimonials to sell your product to your target market, you might need to invest in a more advanced website like this. Also, if you want to be selling with referrals or subscription packages that automatically renew, you might be looking into the territory of an advanced level website that just has more robust capabilities. And with an advanced level website, pretty much anything you can envision you want, you can build. So there's really no limitations. It's just up to your budget and what your business needs to succeed online. Now, if you don't already have a website, you should have now an idea of where you need to be. But if you're looking to upgrade your website, here's some considerations that you want to take into account. Firstly, if you have no website at all and you just want the basic level website, there's some cheap places you can get these. They can be free sometimes if you're willing to allow ads or banners, but otherwise they're very inexpensive on platforms like Wix.com, Squarespace.com, and Weebly.com are some popular choices. Also, if you're going to create your online store on Shopify, Etsy, or Amazon, they allow you to customize your store's page to some extent. You can put your logo, you can put some about information. It's not a great replacement for a dedicated domain name in your dedicated website, but it can be faster and cheaper if you need just a quick entry into e-commerce as sticking with this basic website. A minimum level website is usually a good level for a type of online business that most of you have or want, and allows you to customize a lot more of your website than a basic level website will have, but you'll link to the third-party sites to complete the checkout process. And you're typically not going to have anything like a user login or subscription package with this type of website. Upgrading to a level 3 robust level website is usually an investment of around $2,000 to $9,000 if you want to hire professional website developers to make it, and that just depends on where they're located, and the complexity of the website is what determines that actual price. And it allows you to target your market with much greater customization, personalizing the messaging more, having different landing pages for different Facebook ads or Google ads, A/B testing certain characteristics of pages to see which one works better. All of these more intermediate features are available on a robust level website. And a level 4 advanced website is very useful when you have something really complex to sell. And this can come in many shapes and sizes, but if you need to invest in this type of website, expect to spend between $8,000 and $45,000 and even more depending on your requirements. You can do all sorts of things. Like if somebody's on their mobile phone, you can geolocate their location and show them location relevant products or services. So there's a lot of potential you can tap into here, but it takes more time to build these types of websites, so the cost goes up accordingly. So hopefully now you have an idea of which level website you need to probably be on to have a successful e-commerce store. Now, with these 4 different level websites, there's costs, and I want to quickly go through the different costs so you have some idea of what you're looking to be paying for them. The first thing you'll pay for, it doesn't matter which of the levels you're on, is the hosting fee for your domain name. The only reason you wouldn't pay this is if you just went with like a Shopify website, you didn't even buy a domain, you just had like a shopify.com slash your business name. It doesn't look very professional, so I wouldn't really recommend anybody do that. Because if you want your own domain name, it's only about $20 a year. And for most of you, that's a really good investment. In addition to that, you'll pay a hosting fee, which is between $50 a year for a basic level website and around $250 a year for an advanced level website. And this just means that computer somewhere in the world that's storing your website files, the pages, the text, the images, and the videos, and serving those up to the visitors when they come to your website. And the bigger your website, the more you pay for that. The next expense category is email address. So I'd always recommend you get an email address at your domain name. It could be something like contact at yourbusiness.com or info at. Or if you have a really small business and it's maybe just you running it, it could be your first name if you want it to be just really personal and direct. And some businesses benefit from having that really personal touch. So you can get a really cheap email address at your domain for about $12 per year or only $1 a month. It's the cheapest I've seen. There's a few platforms that offer that. There's one called Zoho, Zoho.com, and they offer an email address at about that price. So it's very, very cheap. But if you're already going to invest in level 3 or 4 website, I'd really recommend you focus on getting a Google powered email address, which is hosted at Google. And it looks a lot like a Gmail address that you're familiar with. And it also gives you access to all the Google Docs, Google Meet, and the calendar, and all of those business tools for around $75 a year. So I think it's a great investment for that professional email address and all the Google tools, which will definitely help your business be organized and be able to grow along with your business. It's a good investment. The next expense category are paid ads. So no matter what type of website you're going to have for your business, you need a strategy to attract people to come. Because if you don't have anybody coming or not enough, you just won't get the sales that you need. If you have a basic level website, I don't recommend you actually spend money on paid ads at that point. You would probably want to invest in upgrading the website to at least a level 2 minimum level website. A budget for ads for a whole year is around $1,200 to start. And that's usually split between Google and Facebook or Instagram, which is also part of Facebook. And you can decide based on your research and the type of products you're selling, what platform you'd want to spend your ad budget on. It just takes some research and understanding your target market to know really where the money will be best spent. With a robust level website, you can expect to spend around $3,000 a year to effectively market that. And an advanced level website, businesses there can spend over $10,000 a year easily on their online ads. Other ways to get visitors to your website other than paying for the ads, there's SEO, which is search engine optimization. If you're curious about other techniques of having website finding, having people come to your website and finding those visitors, you can ask me in the comments. But the ads are usually a good idea for most businesses at some point, and this is a good budget. Development cost of the website just means if you're going to hire a freelancer or a small website development firm, this is the range you could expect to pay. I think everybody here could build a basic website themselves. They shouldn't need help with that. That's a very simple thing. But let's just say you don't have the time or the inclination. Professional will cost around $300 to $1,000. With a minimum level website, again, almost everybody here can build this type of website using a platform like WordPress. And it's not out of the reach of most people as long as you have 10 or 15 hours to invest in learning about it. But if you want to hire people, then 750 to 3,000 for that type of website. A robust level website is typically 2 to 9,000, and advanced level websites can go from 8 to 45,000 or above. And the last expense category you'll be paying only if you have a level 3 or 4 website, because only in those scenarios do you take credit card payments on your website, is what's called SSL, or a secure encryption layer that encrypts the credit card data entered on your website. And that's just a requirement with working with the banks. In some situations, it can be cheaper than a year, but on average, you can expect to spend about $100 a year on that. So these are your expenses to build and maintain a website for your e-commerce business going forward. Now that we've talked about the different types of websites, I want to talk about the top 5 e-commerce platforms in the world. Now, most businesses I interact with will have both sales on their website and choose one or more of these platforms to sell on. Depending on what you're selling and how much time you have to maintain lots of different listings and product details, you might decide you want to sell only on your website, which is okay. You might decide you want to sell on your website in one of these or two of these. It's completely up to you. Again, it's mainly about your time and the type of product that you're selling. But let's talk now about the pros and cons of each of these 5 main platforms so you can get an idea of which platform or platforms would be best to sell your products on. First up is Shopify. This is a huge e-commerce platform. Their price starts at $9 to $79 per month, and they have a transaction fee that can range between 0 and 2%. And we'll talk more about the payment gateways a little bit later. Shopify is extremely easy to set up. You don't need any experience having an e-commerce store before. You just need to have details of your product, including the images, the text, the sale price, and things like that. But anybody can create a Shopify store. But because it's so easy, there's not a ton of customization options. So if you start needing things like, oh, you want a monthly or annual subscription billing automatically, well, that actually costs extra. Shopify has add-ons, so if you need extra things, you will pay for those, sometimes up to $100 a year just to get some sort of an add-on. So it can really up the cost of using Shopify. Shopify is not the cheapest platform, but it is very, very easy. So a lot of people choose it. Second up is Etsy. Now, Etsy is best known for selling handcraft and handmade items and arts and craft type things. They charge a 6.5% transaction fee and a 20-cent listing fee per item. And in addition to that, a 3% payment processing fee on average. So you can see the prices are, well, depending on how frequently you're selling, more expensive than Shopify potentially. If you're selling things in the handmade or handcraft or vintage space, this is a great place to choose because people come to Etsy specifically looking to buy those types of products. It's just like Shopify. It's very easy to set up and post your products, though it does run out of options for customization faster than some of these other choices. And I'll just mention here that customization I do talk about a lot, and the most customizable e-commerce platform you're ever going to find is your own website. Anything you need to enable your product to sell effectively, you can do on your website. All of these other five, because they're more of a cookie cutter approach and more of a mass market approach to helping people build e-commerce websites, they do have a lot more limitations. So third is Facebook, and specifically Facebook Shops. Now, some of you might be using Facebook Marketplace, which is different. So Facebook Marketplace is more like a Craigslist competitor. It's meant to sell usually just a one-off product. And Facebook Shops is more like a Shopify platform, where if you have inventory of dozens or hundreds of these and you want to sell all of them, that's what Facebook Shops is meant for. They charge a 5% sales fee or a 40 cent um, or 40 cents for shipments that are under $8, including the shipping. So if it's something really, really cheap, it's just 40 cents to ship that. Otherwise, a 5% fee. It's geared towards small businesses and merchants. So it's meant to help people who are attending this meeting just kind of where you are with your small business or startup. And I think a key advantage of Facebook is that it has 2.5 billion users and growing. So that's a lot of organic traffic. So Facebook is the world's second largest search engine after Google. So people come there all the time looking to buy goods and services. So it can be a good place to have your products listed if you do like using Facebook. Next up is the world's largest e-commerce platform, Amazon. We've all heard of it, we all know it, we all probably use it. Their fee is $1 per item or $40 a month, plus a fulfillment fee that can range between $2 and $6. One unique thing about Amazon is that they will warehouse your products, which is unique of all of these. With Shopify or Etsy, they're not going to warehouse your products. So Amazon has that potential warehouse, even take returns and do customer service for you. The more you want them to do, the higher of the fulfillment fee they will charge. They're the largest e-commerce platform in the world, and that's for a good reason. They have really robust features to find what you're looking for. If you're selling things that come in multiple sizes or colors, maybe like shoes that have sizes and variations, Amazon has a really good system for helping the buyer find the right product. So it's good if you have something a little bit more complex you need to sell. And lastly is Amazon Handmade, which Amazon created as kind of a response to Etsy. They have no monthly fee, but a flat 15% fee on all of your sales. So it can be quite high there. It's good if you're selling things that come in multiple sizes and configurations, and you get that all Amazon experience, which is really, really fine-tuned to encouraging people to buy products, right? That's how Amazon got so big. So by listing on Amazon, you're benefiting from those. With Amazon Handmade, you need to qualify by submitting an application to prove you're an artisan, and the application process can be a bit time consuming. It can easily take over a month and have multiple levels of interviews, phone calls, and document requirements that you submit. So plan on quite a process if you want to go through that, but it can be a great place to sell, especially if you have kind of a handmade or handcraft or vintage type of product. So hopefully now you have an idea of which of these platforms is resonating the most with you based on their features, their pros and cons, and also their price. So next I'd like to do a little bit more deep dive into these five. Let's start by looking at Shopify. Now here you can see on their homepage, Shopify describes themselves as the global commerce platform. And it says you can build your business with Shopify to sell online, offline, and everywhere in between. So Shopify does do a good job. If you would like a physical credit card reader machine that integrates seamlessly with your online store's inventory and keeps all of your sales receipts in one place, Shopify does a great job. They'll give you the credit card machine. It'll integrate nicely into one account. So a lot of people like it for the convenience. Very easy to use. It has its own payment processing network that it built, so you can get the 0% fees of credit card processing if you choose to use Shopify's processing network. It's very scalable. You can easily have hundreds or even thousands of products on Shopify, and it makes it pretty easy to manage and maintain all of those product listings and also see where your sales trends are. It gives you pretty good access to analytics and data, so you can see what products are selling the best, the worst, different times of the year. A lot of insights to help you as a seller overcome challenges and really maximize your profits. And lastly, Shopify has a big app marketplace. So there often is going to be a time if you're on Shopify where you would like to, again, maybe the example of having a monthly subscription. People sell like a box of handmade products and they want to send out a certain box every month and people just subscribe to receive that. That's not included default with Shopify. It's an add-on. It's something you can find here in the app marketplace. So there's add-ons like that. There's hundreds of different ones. So Shopify has a pretty robust app marketplace, which just means if you need something special, you can probably find it there, which is nice. Another unique thing about Shopify is their ability and willingness to get on the blockchain cryptocurrency ecosystem. A few years ago, the things that were called NFTs or non-fungible tokens kind of became more widely talked about in business circles. And it's the idea of creating a unique digital token to represent some digital thing you're selling. So it could be art, music, an animated image, a video, a tweet, and more. So Shopify is the only major e-commerce platform that specifically helps people create this NFT token and sell it using their unique digital thing that they're selling. So if you're interested in that, if it suits your business, I encourage you to check it out. You can go to shopify.com/NFT to learn more, and they do make that process pretty easy for most people to use. So next up, let's talk a little bit about Etsy. Etsy helps people sell products in areas like Father's Day gifts or seasonal gifts, jewelry and accessories, clothing, home and living and decor, wedding and party, toys, arts and collectibles is a big one, and craft supplies. So you can see on the homepage, some of the products they're promoting are things like handmade jewelry, beautiful customized engraved cutting boards, handmade arts and crafts, and things like that. So it's kind of a niche market area. And if your business is selling into this niche, it can be great to be on Etsy and have your products listed here. It's very easy to set up an Etsy store. You already have this built-in audience as people come to Etsy searching for something you might be making. So that's a sales funnel, and you want to, in online shopping, have as many and as fine-tuned sales funnels as possible. That can dramatically help you increase your online sales. And it gives you helpful tools like analytics and reports, a lot like Shopify does, to show you what's selling, what's not, and be able to pull out some relevant recommendations to help you maximize your profits. Third is Facebook Shops. Now, Facebook, which owns Instagram, it integrates very nicely. So if your business is using Instagram and doing some posts there and you have some followers there, or indeed if you're on Facebook, you can link to your products for sale directly in those posts and have cool things like if they hover over part of an image in a post, there can be the option to shop and to buy that thing, like the example of the coats on the rack here. You can set those kind of sales points up. And so it's a unique thing. It's powerful because Facebook has so many users. And if you're already on Facebook, then it can be a logical place to list your products and your goods for sale because it integrates with social media very, very well. It also has a very comprehensive analytics and reporting and tools, just like the others we've talked about. So it will give you all of the insights that you need and competes very, very directly with Shopify and Etsy. So the only reason why I'd say to steer clear of Facebook shops is if you don't like Facebook's data policy. They can use your data, they can see who visits your shop, what they buy, and sell that data and monetize it however they want, just like with everything on their platform. So if you don't agree with that type of policy, I would steer clear of Facebook shops. But if you're already on Facebook for your business, then it can be a logical place to quickly and easily list your products for sale. Next up is Amazon. I'm sure we all know of it. It's the world's largest e-commerce platform. It has a massive customer base. So just like I was saying, Etsy is great for people who come there looking to buy arts and crafts. Amazon is great for people coming here to look to buy absolutely anything, right? So anything you're selling can be listed here and you can have a giant audience. It has the fulfillment services, which can be a huge time saver. A lot of small businesses prefer to have Amazon warehouse, ship their products, handle returns, handle customer care and questions to some extent, right? So Amazon will do all that. They'll charge you for it. You can offer free shipping to customers if they're on Amazon Prime, because Amazon offers that free Amazon Prime shipping. So this can be a key cost saver to use Amazon because you're not paying for shipping or charging the customer for shipping. So that can be really nice. Amazon also gives what I call advertising tools, which are like data analytics and tools to help you refine your store as it gathers data on your visitors and your competitors, and it'll help you out there. Now, the biggest disadvantage of Amazon is just the widespread fraudulent activity that happens on the platform. And I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, I was advising a small business in Central Virginia that made handmade pasta, and they had been selling products on Amazon for about 6 months, their box of dried handmade pasta, and it was selling very well. They were doing over $100,000 per month in sales on Amazon, and that's when the problem happened, when they noticed that a copycat competitor had sprung up, copying their logo, their packaging, and essentially their product, selling it for a slightly lower amount, and taking a lot of their sales away. It was a complete copy of their product in almost every conceivable way. And they contacted Amazon, and Amazon wouldn't do anything about it. Amazon wouldn't take steps to remove the fraud. This is a very common problem. There's because it's the largest e-commerce platform, there's a lot of bad actors who will look to rip off good selling products here. So it's a risk, and that business had to pivot to shifting the sales to their own website off of Amazon, but because they hadn't prepared for that, it wasn't ready, and they lost months and months of sales. So it was a very painful process to go through, and it really hurt their business. So if you're going to sell on Amazon, and I don't want to scare you away from selling on Amazon, but you should be aware that that's your biggest risk here. And to mitigate the risk, I would recommend you simultaneously sell on your own website and have that robustly set up, meaning if you needed to turn off Amazon quickly and shift to your own website sales, you could do that without months of downtime. That's the safest strategy if you're going to focus on Amazon sales. But again, nobody's going to rip off a business that's just getting a couple of $1,000s of sales per month. It's only when you start getting bigger that people like that will notice. So, you just take that information as you will and apply it to your own unique business needs. But just keep that in mind if you're going to sell on Amazon. So with Amazon Handmade, we can see that they're trying to sell products like Etsy is, things like jewelry, home decor, kitchen and dining, again, stenciled, engraved, kind of customized things, beauty products and pet products. So because there's an artisan application, there's higher integrity of the brands being sold on Amazon Handmade. It's more of a premium type of selling experience, and they're looking for premium products here only. There's no listing fees, but there's that high 15% fee on all of your sales. And they also offer free Prime shipping, and all those same Amazon fulfillment services, as I mentioned. So if you're selling a handmade, handcraft product, Amazon Handmade can be a great choice to look into. So next I want to talk about how do you set up your e-commerce store? So we've already discussed in detail the different types of websites and the five big e-commerce platforms, but how do you then find a product to sell? How do you customize your e-commerce store, the template and the look and the feel? And how do you effectively add your products? So first, how do you find a product to sell? The first question you should ask is, how many products are you going to sell? I've talked to businesses that just have one or two, and I've also talked to businesses that have hundreds or even thousands. And I will say that if you plan on selling thousands of different products online, it's probably going to be very exhausting and time consuming to do that. I recommend, if you're new to e-commerce, that you only start with 10 or 20 products at the most in your first couple of months. That's all you really want to juggle because you're learning a lot as you go here. So when you're looking for the products to sell, ask yourself these questions. Does the product solve a pain point for the customer? And the bigger the pain it's solving, the better it's going to sell online. Does the product appeal to an enthusiast or hobbyist crowd like in arts and crafts or vintage? And if so, then Amazon Handmade or Etsy can be logical choices to list that product. Does the product go with your personal passion? Because anything you're passionate about, that you know something very detailed information about this product or segment, it's going to help you sell it better, and you're going to be able to outcompete the competitors. And also, you want to maximize any trends that you see. You want to capitalize on those early. One way to find trends is reading customer reviews. You can do this on Amazon or pretty much any e-commerce platform. Look for reviews that are talking about positives and negatives of products similar to what you're considering selling. It can give you a really good idea of how to enter the market successfully. Litmus test before you launch just means don't launch all 100 products that you have that are very, very similar. Like maybe you're selling jewelry and you have 100 pairs of earrings that are very similar, but just with a few minor differences. It's usually not a good spend of time to list all of those and build all of those out, only to find that earrings aren't really a popular selling category. Rather, it's the wristwatches, and you only had time to put up 3 or 5 of those. So litmus test means pick a couple from each category that you have available. After a couple of months, see which categories tend to be selling the best, and then you can bolster your products for sale in the right categories. Next, you should always be browsing what's trending. As I mentioned, the scammers on Amazon, they're observing data and looking for popular products rising quickly, and then they can rip them off. So you should be looking for trends to help you maximize your profit potential. There's a few key places you can do this. There's one website called camelcamelcamel.com. And for years, they've been an aggregator of Amazon sales data. So it's very useful to go and see, oh, these products have sold really well the last month, average price, average number of sales, a lot of good data. There's other competitors to Camel, Camel, Camel if you just Google, Amazon sales trends or things like that. So browse these places, learn as much as you can because your competitors are definitely doing that as well. Research and post products that have a higher profit margin. So inevitably, when you sell online, your product becomes a bit of a commodity, right? You lose the ability to have somebody see it in a store. So it's a bit of a commodified thing. Price is often the key driver of sales. So you need to be able to lower your price to compete with maybe lower priced products. If you have a slim profit margin to begin with, you might find yourself being unable to lower your price enough or you'll be losing money. So only sell products with as high profit margin as you have access to give you the best chance of having a good profit at the end of the day. And again, always be on the lookout for trends and opportunities. Selling online is a very competitive space, and those who do it well and who make good profits year after year are being innovative and looking at trends and capitalizing on those early. So once you've found your products to sell and you've decided on which e-commerce platform or maybe even your own website you want to sell those products on, how do you then build those product pages? And if it's an e-commerce store like a Shopify, Etsy, or Amazon, how do you customize your template that they give you to start with? So most of the platforms I mentioned have a range of templates with a lot of different features. They're going to look very modern and be designed well to help you sell your products. But when you're looking to pick a template and indeed to set it up, ask yourself, what features do you want your store to have? So do you want it to have a video up at the top that's a kind of a welcome intro video to your company, or maybe you want to jump right into different product categories? Think about how you want the layout of the page to be, and especially what your target market will appreciate the most when looking at it. And how do you want customers to navigate around your store? Do you want to have different categories of products you sell? If you do, what are the categories? So you want to be intentional with how you structure and organize things. Once you've decided on answered those questions, you can customize your template, and it's going to be really easy to change things like your text, the size of it and the font, the colors for many elements on the pages, the images, of course, of your products or of your business. You can sometimes move around the positioning of products to various extents depending on the template you picked. Features you want your website to have. So if you want it to have videos, if you want it to have other features to help you sell. And if you have the option to embed your social media links, if you're active on any social media channels, then I would recommend you do that. And the reason is because customers aren't always going to buy a product from an unknown company right away. They might bookmark that page, they might come back later. They might want to do more research about your company, see what the reviews are like, see what the comments on your social media pages are like. So if you've been active on Facebook or Instagram or X and you're engaging with customers and answering questions and people seem very happy, you want these social media links to be on your sales pages so people can see those good reviews really quickly and help them make that buying decision faster so you don't lose them. And the next thing you need to do before you can finish your online e-commerce pages is to add your products. And the main things you're going to need before you can add all the products are going to be the name of the product, the price of it, the category that it fits under, the weight of it for anything physical, and if it's a digital product, you'll need that file, whether it's an NFT or just a downloadable file. The three things that you need to adhere to make a great product page are going to be the description of the product, the images, and the product category. So talking about the product description a bit, it's really a key thing to get right. You don't want too much text and description, but you also don't want too little. You want to, well, I'll tell you first, some study on best-selling Amazon products revealed a trend where it showed the best average length of a product description, which was between 3 and 5 sentences of text, followed by 5 to 7 bullet points of additional information. So that amount is ideal. Going too little leaves people with too many questions, and going too much overwhelms, and people typically don't read it all and they might not buy your product. So as you're writing your description, make sure you avoid jargon and abbreviations. I know a lot of people in a certain industry think, oh, everybody understands what this abbreviation is, and I see it all the time. And the problem is sometimes your buyer won't. And if they don't understand what you're trying to tell them, they might lose interest and go away. So always just spell out abbreviations. Don't assume people know what they mean. Avoid cliches because they really don't help people have a better understanding of your product, and avoid long sentences. Keep them short and concise. And by sticking to these product description of the text, this will help you maximize your chances of making a sale. But as we all know, a picture does say 1,000 words, and having the right pictures of your products is a key differentiator, helping you position your products as a bit more premium than your competitors and helping people make the decision to buy the products from you. So here's a few tips on taking the right product photos. First off, here we have an image of what's called a photography light box. It's a very simple setup that you can buy online or you can even make yourself if you want. It has a neutral kind of white background. It has even lighting. It has the camera on a tripod and just a fixed position. It ensures that your product photos look uniform, they look high quality, and you don't want things where the shadows are deep and hiding details or where there's distracting backgrounds. So you can easily pick up a photography lightbox and take those nice photos of your products. A few other tips when taking photos is always use high quality images. So if you end up taking one that ends up blurry, out of focus, or too pixelated for some reason, never use that. It'll just make your product look of a low quality. You can use a tool like Photoshop or an online free version of something like an image resizing tool to make sure pictures you take, maybe using different cameras, all have the same dimensions and the same resolution. It's important again to maintain a uniform consistency to make those products look really good in the pictures. Almost any modern smartphone that came out in the last few years will take just fine product pictures, especially if you have a light box setup. You don't need to invest in a very expensive camera. It would be good to have a tripod, which ensures that photos aren't blurry from hand movement and they're at the same angle every time, though. Some e-commerce platforms can have a 360-degree option where you can spin the product around, and when they're looking to buy it and they can see different angles, this can be really useful. And also, then two bullet points down from that, the zoom option. So if you have an option to zoom in to see really fine detail, maybe it's some hand-stitched leather or pottery, and you really want to show off some detail, you'll need to take a very large resolution image to be able to zoom into that. So your e-commerce platform will tell you the guidelines if you want to do 360 or a zoom image, and I would always make use of those opportunities if you can. And if you have different product variations, maybe you sell clothing and they come in several different styles or textures, make sure you have a photograph of every different variation. That way shoppers know exactly that they're looking at what they're going to receive. If they can't see exactly what version they're going to receive, it makes it much harder to make the decision to buy from your online store. And the last tip is use an online compression tool to compress your images. By default, out of a smartphone, your image could be quite big in megabytes, and you don't want a large file like that or multiple large files to be on an e-commerce page because it could load very slowly. And again, you want to have a friction-free shopping experience. So having a slow page load that maybe takes 5 or 10 seconds to load it all up would be quite off-putting to some shoppers, and they would just leave the page. So you can prevent that by making sure you compress your images using a free online compression tool, which will make them much smaller in size without noticeably reducing the quality at all. So in addition to taking just, the straight up product image, here's a few other graphics and image ideas you can invest in to help you sell your products online. First one is a dimension image. This will show the relative scale of your product in relation to something else. So if it's hard to see the scale of it, in the example here, it looks like it's a Alexa cat holder, or I mean a cat Alexa holder, where it's important to show how big the product of the cat holder is in relationship to the Alexa unit that would be going inside of it. Another good way to create a graphic is a comparison chart, which will show your key selling points in relation to your competitors. And lastly, you can do something like a 3D image. If what you want to show is hidden inside of, you can't see it from the outside, so what's secret and good about your image is on the inside, you can have a 3D kind of cutout of that. And also mixed with this is an infograph, which is similar to that comparison chart, in that it just shows the key selling points of your product that maybe your competitors don't have. In addition to those, consider having more personal and intimate pictures, things like the creation process. Again, I would make sure you shy away from stock photos as much as possible because people they expect to see what they're actually going to get. So, if you're actually whittling or carving wood, just have somebody take pictures of you doing that. It's good. It shows the authenticity of your product. A scale shot can be very useful in some situations where you're trying to show the relative scale. It can be like jewelry on somebody's hand. And lastly is a group shot. So if you have similar products and it doesn't really make sense to take a picture of each of the 4 bottles here of some sort of like a hand lotion, you can take a picture that shows kind of the range and have the same picture for sale on multiple product pages. So that can save time and it just gives you the group shot where it's not really critical to show each of the different bottles separately. So now that we've talked about how to write good product text and take good product images, I do get asked quite often, well, how does sustainability help my e-commerce sales? Is it important to focus on that? Is it important to educate people about that? And the answer is yes. So almost 50% of consumers are more likely to purchase from companies that support environmental or a social cause. And they have a strong bias for buying from brands that use sustainable practices. So here's a few techniques you can use to either become a more sustainable brand or to better communicate that. The first thing is to know that all of these will have a positive impact on the purchasing decisions of your target market. The first one is implementing sustainable practices. You can do this, and it varies by industry and product, of course, but think about ethical sourced materials, eco-friendly packaging, and good manufacturing processes, maybe that use less energy or less water. Now, the business benefit for this will be increased brand loyalty and increased market competitiveness. But you do need to have a good communication around this. It won't help you if you're spending time and effort and even more money to be environmentally friendly if nobody knows. So communicating your efforts in the product pages, in your social media, on your website is really important. And if you're finding that a lot of your target customer, maybe you're doing two things. You're ethically sourcing your materials and you're focusing on eco-friendly packaging. But maybe with your target market, they're really only caring about the eco-friendly packaging and not the ethical sourcing. And you can learn about this in things like comments and soliciting feedback. And after a couple of months, hopefully you've gotten some idea of what types of in sustainable practices matter the most to your target market because it's really hard to tell. There's no one size fits all solution to every type of product. So evaluating the feedback and adjusting as you go will be critical to better communicate your sustainable practices, and by doing so, increase your online sales. Another key trend you'll notice as you either set up an e-commerce store for the first time or expand the store you already have is that there's so many new ways AI is jumping into the shopping experience. Everything from helping you as a store to better understand your customers' behavior, to a big platform like Shopify or Amazon to better match up a search query with your products, hopefully, and lead you to more sales. In general, all these platforms are using AI to analyze that customer data, and they want to enhance customer satisfaction and the conversion rate for you as a seller. Shopify does this by personalizing product recommendations based on browsing history, and other online trends. Etsy does this by improving the search and discovery, as they call it, which is pretty much what Shopify is doing as well. And for you as a seller, it helps you manage and suggest pricing to maximize your sales. So this is a nice thing to do. I mean, there's a ton of data on your competitors. So Etsy can, with the help of AI, help you price your products accordingly, which is pretty good. That wasn't really available a few years ago. Facebook is personalizing the shopping experience, again, using all of that massive amounts of data it has. Facebook has its own AI platform that it's developed, and it also comes into play when you're doing a visual search in Instagram. So again, you have the Instagram post and you want to sell your products just through the post. That type of visual search is enabled more by AI. And Amazon also uses it in similar ways, using customer data to provide the better product suggestions and also helping you as a seller on Amazon to forecast demand. So again, the data was mainly available in years past, but the robustness of the way to analyze it and give you like demand forecasting for the next 12 months wasn't really possible easily until AI came about. So I'm sure we're going to see more AI trends in online shopping, and it's important to be aware of what's going on as a seller to be able to maximize those on whatever platform you're using. And of course, if you do have your own website, there are other ways to integrate AI to help you sell on your website as well. So the third goal for the bootcamp today was to launch your store and show you how to maximize your profits. So we're going to talk about how to set up your payment methods, how to preview, test, and publish your online store, and what to do as a follow-up to really evaluate your success and maybe your failures 4 to 6 weeks after you launch. So how will you market your store? And especially on a shoestring. Now, I mentioned the paid ads costs as a general blueprint, but let's assume you don't have money or much money and you want to get set up with an online marketing campaign. Well, number one, of course, will be your social media and email marketing. And I'll just briefly go through these four. If you have additional questions on marketing, let me know in the comments. But this is really good to increase your brand awareness and personalize your outbound marketing message. It basically doesn't cost you anything. It just takes your time and effort as you think to ways to communicate with your target market. And you can use platforms like MailChimp for free to send out bulk emails to a mailing list and see how many people opened them, see how many people clicked on the link. So social media email marketing is a key marketing step that every business should be using. Secondly is content marketing. So this would involve creating blogs or maybe content like an how-to video and posting that on YouTube or TikTok. And it's going to be related to your products. So it's probably not directly selling your product, but it's more providing a useful tip or trick or information that your target market finds useful. And they'll appreciate that and they'll follow you. And then eventually the sales will follow. That's the premise of content marketing. Number three is local marketing. So a lot of businesses maybe have a service area that's geographically constrained, right? Either a city or a county or a state. So there's some local marketing techniques you can do online. You can set up a free Google business profile, which puts your business on Google Maps. This is a really critical step if you do have a physical location. It's great to be on Google Maps. You can start putting pictures of your image up there, contact information. You can get reviews there. And people will then, it'll be a new funnel for people to find your business and your products when they search Google Maps. You can also use a platform like Nextdoor or other local online groups and forums like Facebook groups to be active on those and will help you find those local sales, whether it's somebody who lives in your local area or somebody passing through looking for your good or service. You can make sure you capture them by being active on these local marketing platforms. And lastly, there's going to be a lot of designing graphics, designing posts, maybe even making videos. So a really good free tool is Canva, and it's used by a lot of both freelancers, amateurs, professionals to create logos, graphics, and it can be really useful in a boost in productivity because it has a lot of stock photos, stock sound effects for videos. So Canva is a great option. And you can look on a platform like Upsplash for free images, and Google Analytics is completely free for tracking website traffic. So by utilizing these four methods, you can really successfully market on a shoestring. So let's finish now by talking about how do you accept payments for your store and how do you finish setting up and launching the store. So there's three main ways that you're going to take credit card payments online. And the fees are typically around 1% plus 10%, 10 cents per transaction, all the way up to 3% and 30 cents per transaction. And this variation comes into play just based on your bank, the other person's, the buyer's bank, the credit card networks involved, and the middlemen and all involved. They all can add fees and make this higher or lower. So the three most popular ways to accept payments, the first one is a merchant account and a payment gateway. With this one, a bank like Bank of America or Chase or many other banks will accept a payment for you and they will then credit the money right into your business bank account and they'll charge you a fee for this. The second way is a payment gateway package, which is a piece of software written by another company that can integrate with your website and connect it to the shopping cart, the credit card processing network. So an example of this would be WooCommerce, and WooCommerce is a plugin for the WordPress website building platform. And WooCommerce is a simple piece of software. They charge you a very small transaction fee, and they are the payment gateway package. So if you're using a WordPress website, then WooCommerce would be one good example of the second option here. And lastly is simplified credit card payment processing. In this scenario, you'd be using a e-commerce store, something like Shopify. And Shopify is so big, they have their own payment gateway. And so if you choose to use their payment gateway, they actually charge you 0% fees for credit card processing. But of course, they do make up that money elsewhere in other fees. So it's not like you're just saving money and not losing anything. Shopify does have their fees and they can get quite expensive. So just keep that in mind. Depending on your unique setup, any one of these three could be the cheapest option for you. So I wanted you to be aware of what your three main options are so you can choose the best one for you. Now, after you've settled on how to receive payments, you'll want to preview and test and then publish your online store. And basically, this step is about making sure you find any problems with your website, including typos, broken links, and testing out your checkout process by buying a product yourself, and you can give yourself a refund to make sure all notifications are set up correctly. It's never a good idea to rush into launching an e-commerce store because you might have an error or two, which could lead to lost sales, and you might not even know about it for some time. So do a thorough job checking and have a couple other people help you to check everything for spelling and grammar errors. Make sure images load quickly and then none are pixelated. And just make sure it's thoroughly checked and tested before you do publish it. So you've created your product listings, you've published your online store, you've gotten some information and data 4 to 6 weeks later. So this is a good time to catch up with a e-commerce professional, someone here at the SBDC or another professional you might be working with to kind of evaluate how well you've done. And here's a couple of good questions to ask that consultant when you talk to them. Firstly, did you meet your sales and revenues goals for the first month? What feedback did you receive from your customers online, either over email, on social media pages, in whatever format it came in on? What products did you list that sold the best and also the worst? What new ideas do you have for products to sell online going forward? And also, what have you learned from your competitors? Because your competitors are definitely not staying still. They're always analyzing trends, seeing what's working, what's not working. You should be also looking at them, seeing what their product reviews have been like. What have people not liked about their products? Always be learning. And this should help you have a strategy for what to do differently in months 2+ as you adapt and evolve, take in more data, draw more conclusions, refine your strategy over time. E-commerce is a very competitive place to sell, and you'll do the best if you have a willingness to adapt to new information you get as you go forward, and also working with someone who can help discuss these things with you, like a consultant at the SBDC can be a real help. So that wraps up the presentation. I do hope this was informative and got some good information to everybody here. And if you have further questions, please go ahead and start typing them into the chat box or Q&A box if that's up, and we will go through as many of those as we have time for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Cameron. Yes, if we have a couple questions in the Q&A, and if any more questions have come up, please go ahead and put those in the Q&A and we'll get through them now. We have about 25 minutes. So let's see, we have two questions right now. One was, so this person has a headstone company and would love to put up smaller stones online, but they're confused on how to allow families to customize a product on their website.
That's a great question. So I'm going to assume you're selling the headstones on your own website, like yourbusiness.com, and not trying to sell it on one of these 5 e-commerce platforms I talked about, because they don't really have the option of customization of things like that. That's probably something.
I'm sorry, I said website. They did not say website.
What did they say?
So it just, I am confused on how to allow families to customize a product. So I'm not sure on which platform.
Yeah. So the person who asked that question, I mean, there's several ways. There's a lot of different ways you could do it. And I'd really need to know some more about your business. At a very basic level, you have a form somebody fills out. They fill out the customization text. You receive that in an email, and then you engrave or stencil that on in your factory, your workshop. So, I mean, that's one solution. There's a lot of solutions. It depends on really your specifics and what you need, how much automation you need involved. But if you want to give us more details, we can try to go a little bit deeper. Or If this requires like an offline, some offline help, you can always email us at help@virginiasbdc.org. It's here on the screen. And if you just say, hey, you came to this presentation, you'd like to follow up with me on this question, then we can also take it offline.
Great. That question actually came from Cameron. So not
Okay.
a different
Great.
Cameron. So
Yep.
Cameron, if you want to elaborate here, or as Cameron Nelson said, go ahead and just reach out to us and we'll get you helped. So next question, does Amazon still offer free shipping for Prime members if your store's supplier product has to be shipped from another country?
Um, No, the short answer is no, they don't. Your product needs to be warehoused. If it's being sold to a US customer, to get that free Prime shipping, it needs to be in a US warehouse. Yeah. And
Let's see
Amazon,
what.
again, just to elaborate a little bit, Amazon also has warehouses in different countries. So, for example, Amazon Germany, it's got its own website. It's amazon.de. If you warehouse in Germany and you sell to German customers, they can get Prime shipping, but you've got to be warehoused in the country the buyer is in to get Prime shipping.
Let's see, what would be the best platform to sell thrift used vintage items?
Yeah, so in that scenario, it sounds like they're probably one-off things, right? You have one dress, you have one vintage bracelet or whatever it is. So most of these don't really work for the vintage items like that when they're one-off. You have some options. I didn't talk about eBay, but eBay, of course, is very popular if you have a one-off thing. Their fees are around 17%, so it's quite high. And you're gonna have to ship that yourself, of course, and handle all the shipping. So you can go eBay. You could also use Facebook Marketplace, which I mentioned about. It's not really an e-commerce platform, but it is good if you have a one-off thing to sell. The issue with using these is that you have to take photos and write descriptions of every single thing, and it takes a lot of time. So it's more it's more time saving if you have 100 things. They'll have the same pictures and description, right? You do that once, you sell all 100, you make a lot more profit. So in your scenario, you're kind of stuck with one at a time. So eBay would work, Amazon Marketplace, and you could even try Craigslist or some other local platform like that that's just meant to sell one-off things.
And we have another question. After launching e-commerce, what do you do if you're not getting activity? How do you work to get customers to find your website?
So the answer to that varies for every type of industry and every type of product, but the common recommendation is always go back to the data. So let's just say you put up, 20 products on Shopify or Etsy. Even if you didn't make many sales or any sales over a period of time, like a month, you will have some data. So people might have searched for a term and your product showed up in the options of the products, but nobody clicked on it to go to the page. If that's the case, you'll see that. And you'll need to research and dig deeper and really discover why didn't many people go to my pages? Why didn't many people buy my products? So that's something that's a process that can be month over month. And there's no one answer that's always going to answer the problem, answer that question. But it is good to work with an advisor at the SBDC or somewhere else because they'll be able to help you look at the data and look at the analytics. And so that's really the key to answering the question is diving into that a little bit deeper.
Currently don't have any other questions. So we do have about 20 minutes. So those that are still on with us. Oh, we do have a question. So this actually probably usually would fall under another session that you do, but what are your thoughts on Wix to host a website?
Yeah, so Wix is a very low cost uh, place to host a website. You can buy your domain name there, yourbusiness.com. You can build a basic website there. It's a platform that's declined in popularity a lot in the last 3 or 4 years. So it used to be much more popular. They have not been able to keep up with WordPress, with Squarespace. Just some other competitors have taken away a lot of their market share. So I don't hear people using them much anymore. I don't hear good things about people who do use them. So, I mentioned them as one of the cheap places to get a website. It might work for you, but also I'd look into Squarespace as a good alternative. And also, of course, there's WordPress, which is, and I do a whole session on the website platforms, but WordPress is usually my recommendation for small business websites. And I'm working on several right now for clients because it's very low cost, yet very flexible and can grow with your business. Whereas a thing like Wix, it's going to be restrictive and what you can sell and how you can sell it. And the cost can get quite high over time. So that's why it has some disadvantages.
Does WooCommerce provide data and search analytics with its service?
That's a good question. WooCommerce is mainly a credit card processing network, and it does give you like a full comprehensive report of all your sales, the revenue you've made. It also tracks your shipping, so like shipping expenses. It also tracks all of your sales tax. So I get asked this a lot. I get asked, well, if I ship my products to 48 states, do I have to manually track sales tax? And so WooCommerce does all of that. So it automates a lot. I'm not sure to what level you're wondering of what kind of analytic data reports it gives you. It gives you those reports I just mentioned, um, but there might be other reports you're looking for that it wouldn't provide. I guess that's the answer. But if you have more detailed questions of what specifically you're looking for, I might be able to give a bit more information.
We have another question. Would selling a service, for instance, lactation counseling, be a token? What type of platform would you suggest for something like that?
So I'm not sure what you mean by token actually in this case. I think a lactation consultant is probably a virtual consultation or an in-person consultation. So you're providing that service. You're not selling a physical product. So, um, yeah, I guess I don't understand
Yeah.
the word token in this context. But if you want to
Um,
elaborate, that'd be great.
okay, she did virtual consultation.
Yeah.
So,
So if you're trying to sell any kind of a virtual consultation, right, you need a booking platform where somebody probably books that time slot and then prepays for that service, and then they get an email with the meeting link and the time as a reminder. So I think like that's kind of the process flow. I'm not sure what a token means in that context, but yeah, typically you just need a good booking calendar system that takes payments, which isn't really a default option on any of these. They're not really meant to sell a virtual consulting session. They're meant to sell a physical product. But if you have your own website, you can easily build out a nice system to take those virtual bookings.
all right, this next one is kind of long. So let me know if you need me to read it again. But first, they're thanking you, Jessica is thanking you for the presentation. It's been very informative. I'm finding Meta ads very frustrating. There is a push to use the Meta Advantage Plus, the AI automation to optimize the ad campaigns, but it seems to only send the ads to bots. They don't convert, and you get bizarre comments that are clearly not from the typical customers. It seems like as soon as that begins to happen, the algorithm only pushes the ads to these bots and click farms. Is there a way to avoid this?
Mhm. Well, I understand the question, and I don't have a lot of experience with this problem. AI ad placement is a relatively new thing on Facebook as it is with a lot of social media platforms. So every week or every month, they're changing how their algorithms work and how they're affecting you. So I haven't I haven't experienced this problem recently. I don't really have up-to-date recommendations other than stop paying for the ads. If you feel like the quality of the people or the bots that are clicking on your ads is decreasing, then you should just stop paying for them. You could provide some feedback to Facebook and say, look, I'm not paying because this is happening. From my experience, Facebook probably won't care though. They don't really respond to customer complaints like that. So you might need to focus on alternative means of marketing and advertising. Of course, there's Google Ads, which is the main competitor to Facebook. Also, if you happen to be active on any other social media platforms like TikTok or X, or I have some other means of reaching your target customer, even offline, it might be time to consider pivoting more to those and away from Facebook. Um, And I can only say maybe in 6 or 12 months, Facebook will have a completely different approach with AI and ads as you know, as it changes so rapidly. But I know it's frustrating now, feeling like the quality has gone down. Unfortunately, there's just very little I can say or do that'll actually help the situation, other than recommending you consider pivoting to some alternative options in the short term.
Thank you. So, what would you recommend doing to get complete review of existing websites with an eye on removing some confusing sign up payment options? And how would you go about finding a reasonable cost service provider?
So I think the question was how to like analyze the website to remove some confusing options. It was like analyzing
That's
it, yeah. So that's a great question. This is something that I do for small businesses quite often is analyze their existing website and point out ways that it can be improved based on what they're trying to sell and who their target market is. So it's something that it would take too long to try to explain here, and plus I would need to look at it. But if you're interested in following up with me about that service, feel free to email the help email address right here, and we can get in touch that way. And hopefully, I can advise you on how to take that to the next step.
great. Let's see. Do you have any insight or preferences on which POS to use? This may be more useful for in-person sales. For
Mhm.
example, Square, Shopify, Stripe, PayPal, etc.
Yeah. So POS, a point of sale system, is that physical credit card reader, in case nobody's familiar with that acronym. The big ones are Stripe and Square. I think those are the two biggest players in this space right now. They both have a big focus on helping people selling online and offline in one ecosystem, one account, one login. They can see sales from both places. They get their reports, they get their taxes withheld. So in a sense, they're a competitor to WooCommerce, which we talked about earlier. Um, I hear very positive things about both Stripe and Square. Again, they're the two biggest. They seem really competing in price against each other, so their price is quite low. The quality of service is very high. Of course, there's many other smaller players, and you might find that a smaller player has a feature that you really need, and Stripe or Square doesn't. So without knowing a lot more about what you're selling and your specific needs, it's hard to advise more, but Stripe and Square are my top two choices. And between them, it's just basically a wash, right? They're both very good. They're both very competitive. So that's where I would start.
So this next one, I'm not sure if it's a question or if it's just referring back to the virtual consultation question, but it says teachable.com might be a great platform for selling a service like coaching services.
Yeah, there's certainly platforms that help sell coaching courses or packages. There's another one called Coursera, but that's mainly for pre-recorded content that you want to sell. I think these live consultations, I'm not sure Teachable would have that ability, but maybe they do now. I think generally speaking, what you need for that is a lot of eyeballs on your content. So if you have a big online following, it's great. And then have a link to your website where they can sign up for that service. Because just it could be a small custom page on a website, which could just be streamline the process of getting them to sign up, pick a time, pay with a credit card, and send out those notifications so everybody's aware of the time frame, and then you just join for those sessions.
This one, this is an out there question, I think, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. Is there a way to use AI to avoid paying for QuickBooks?
No, there's not. Not that I know of.
Yeah. All right. I think we have one more question.
Well, one thing I'll say, um, I do know that there's a lot of discounts you can get for QuickBooks. At the SBDC here, I used to know a professional accountant who worked with SBDC clients, and she had like this discount code, which gave a huge discount for like 90% off. And she gave it to her SBDC clients. So I would, whoever asked that question, I would get in touch with your local SBDC. And if you don't know who that is, let us know. We'll tell you. And say you want to talk to somebody about a QuickBooks discount, and maybe they have somebody in the local office, like the person I knew in Central Virginia, who just gave this her discount code out. It wasn't free, but it was pretty close to being free. So I would look into that.
Right, exactly. I think an advisor can definitely help the local level on that. Let's see, next question. If you purchased a website domain with one company, Wix, and want to switch to another company, can you take your website address with you?
Yes, absolutely. So when you purchase a domain name, you do own that, and legally they have to allow you to transfer it wherever you would like. So, say for example, you want to transfer it to GoDaddy, which is a very big hosting platform and one that I use a lot. You would you would go into Wix. They probably have a button to click that says, I want to authorize this domain to be transferred. You would go into GoDaddy, you would type in some information, GoDaddy and Wix would talk, and then about a day later, typically, the domain would be moved to GoDaddy. It's a very similar process no matter where you want to move it, but it involves getting both of those platforms to talk to each other briefly to make that happen.
We have almost 10 minutes left. No more questions right now. So if there are any other questions, go ahead and type them in really fast and we'll get to them. And while we wait, Cameron, do you have some last words of wisdom for us?
Well, I think that you guys asked a lot of good questions so far. And, just always keep in mind that every business has such different needs when it comes to e-commerce. But the one common thing that'll help you all succeed is having a good understanding of your data and your analytics. Um, Whatever reporting system you have access to, make sure you look at it. When you're starting out, I would look at it every week and see what the trends are, what the graphs are like, what the data shows. Once you've been selling online for a while, maybe a year or two, maybe once a month is a fine checkup, but you need to shift and adapt your strategy pretty rapidly at the beginning to maximize your opportunities. That you should really have a time slot every week to be looking at that. And again, if you don't understand what it's telling you, you should talk to an SBDC or another advisor who can look at that with you and talk it over with you.
No more questions have popped in, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap us up. Before I do that, though, we used to put up a poll at the end of our webinars looking for feedback, but we now have that when you exit, you'll see a survey pop up, and I just want to encourage you to take a moment. It's only 7 quick questions to answer that. That helps us with webinars moving forward to see what you all are interested in. So yes, we would very much appreciate that you do that. And thanks, Cameron, and thanks everyone who attended today. You will receive an email with a link to the recording and to the slides. If you would like to sign up for upcoming webinars or access recorded webinars, please visit virginiasbdc.org/training. This webinar and other SBDC resources are designed to be used in collaboration with your local SBDC advisors. You can sign up for a free and confidential session by emailing help@virginiasbdc.org or via our website. And we do hope to see you all at our next session. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good day. Bye-bye.